Welcome to the channel. My name is Dr. Ben. I am going to be reviewing this Evolpow rack. So this is a combination rack, half rack, Smith machine, and cable machine. I am a gym enthusiast. If you can't tell already, I'm an OCB natural pro bodybuilder, doctor of physical therapy, NSC strength and conditioning specialist, and home gym enthusiast. And so I'm going to nerd out about this rack and tell you all about it, the good, the bad, the ugly. This is a sponsored review, so they did send me this rack for free. Thank you, Evolpow. But I will be going over the pros, the cons, and give you guys an honest review. So if you're interested in buying this rack, you know what to expect. The first thing I'm going to go over is going to be the Smith machine function. So the Smith machine aspect of this is pretty smooth. So it has a few bearings on each side. The cage within it is a little bit small for me. I'm 6 foot tall, about 200 pounds. And so if you're about my height or bigger, you just might want to watch out. It is good height-wise. Height-wise is pretty good. Just width is a little bit snug. Nothing too bad though. It does limit me when I do bench press. So just keep in mind for that. If you flare your elbows out a little bit wide, it can be a little bit of an issue. You can see here, my elbows are about perpendicular. I'm all the way out to the ends of the bar. As far as the glide goes, it's honestly great, right? This goes up and down, super smooth. No issues with it over the last 6 months. So no issues there. As far as the loading capacity, I've loaded up upwards of 405 on the bar here. Typically 315 is more of a working weight for me for squats. I have not had issues with it. And so you definitely load this thing up. I would be a little bit hesitant to go much heavier than that, just because this is more of a budget intro level rack. They do have some stoppers here at the bottom as well. So I can just lift these guys up and I can move these stoppers however high I would like. And so that way, if it reaches the bottom, I'm all good to go. Now the half rack function is pretty interesting. So basically we got this little J cup right here. It latches on like this, and then it sits down and sits well. You can add a barbell into here. I will say that it's relatively close to the Smith machine here. And so it can be a little bit of an issue. So what I typically do is I will just raise the Smith machine all the way up, and that way the J cup is not inhibited by the Smith machine. So if I'm doing things like squats or things like that, it tends to be a little bit of an issue. Let me kind of show you here. All right, so I got the barbell set up here and I got the Smith machine up here. And so as I go to unrack the barbell, this is right above my head here. So it is a little bit weird. The other option is obviously to put it down, but then it is in the way of my feet. So I'll put it down here, kind of snake my way through this. And so this is the other option as well. It's not that bad. And honestly, there is a bit of clearance. Lower is technically better. And so then I'm good to go here. And then I can obviously do all my half rack, squatting, lunging, row, whatever base movements. So if you put it high, or kind of like a head clearance type of issue, put it a little bit low, should be a little bit better. They also do have spotter arms. They look just like this. And so you basically put them in the same way, essentially just doing that. And then they hook down like this. They hold a good amount of weight. They are a little bit wobbly. I'm not sure if you can really see that, but they work. Obviously, this is a good safety thing to have. They also have a few other features like this T-bar row down here at the bottom. You simply just insert the barbell at the bottom, and then you could do different exercises like lunges, rows, shoulder press, things like that. There's also a middle low cable attachment here at the bottom that you can do exercises like rows or different pulling based exercises like face pulls here from the bottom position. You'll also notice here on either side, we have 2 D handles. These are adjustable up and down. I have the rope attachment on this one, and then I have the D handle here on the left side. To move the different cable attachments is pretty easy. All you simply do is just pull up and should be able to release, and then it simply just goes up and down. If you do have the J cup and a barbell here, this does make it really hard and impossible to move it. And so if you want to move this up and out of the way, you would also need to remove the barbell in the J cup. However, obviously, if it's not in the way, you can always move it a little bit lower. It does unlatch by pulling itself up. And so there is another pin that you can stick in to make it solid on the rack. Now, I will say that on the outside here, there are these screws that hold all these metal deals together for the Smith machine, but the screws don't really line up 100% correct. And so it's a little bit iffy to get it to fit 100% right. And so overall, this is a budget rack, and it does have budget rack issues. And so the screws here, like the screw heads, not quite fitting right with the cable attachment here, is a bit of a con with this. But for $1,000 for a rack, that's kind of what you get. Now, I will say getting the cable attachment set up can be a little bit tricky. You need to make sure that the screws are lined up vertically. So you can see here on the sides, they're vertical. The sides, they're vertical. If you were to twist this and have it be a little cockeyed here, like this, see how it's not vertical, then this attachment would not fit on. So you need to make sure all of these are perfectly aligned. Otherwise, it does make the cable attachment a little bit tricky. Now, if you are going to use the cables, it does have a back-loaded, plate-loaded little situation back here. And so you simply add the plates to the carriage, and this is how you load it. And so that can be a pro or con depending on how you look at it. I do like the plate loading. I don't think it's that bad, but obviously selectorized racks are going to be a little bit more convenient. Here's an example of the cable attachment being properly set up. And so you've got this little pin in here that can be used to keep it steady. So that way, if you pull up on it, it's not going to dislodge. And so this is how it's set up properly. And with the cables, you can obviously do a ton of exercises. So with it, the cable attachment being up high here, you can obviously do things like tricep push downs, lat pull downs. It also has this nice leg attachment here. So a little leg roller attachment that you can use as the leg stoppers for a lat pull down. So your legs go underneath this. You can also use this for Bulgarian split squats and putting your foot on top of here. It's a very versatile little piece of equipment here. And so I'll go ahead and demonstrate a few exercises. First one being the tricep push down, just like this, going up and down. Next, we'll go ahead and put the leg roller on. You can see how this works out. And so this will just latch on down here. And like I mentioned, it takes a little bit of elbow grease to get that down in there before. And now attach, say, a longer bar on here. So legs would just be pinned underneath here. So I like to put my knee around the top of the roller, and then you want to pin underneath it so it doesn't dislodge when you pull up. But you simply do lat pull downs like this. There you go. So pretty nice to have it on one side to the other. The weight horns will hold quite a bit of weight. For me personally, it's not enough for me to do lat pull downs. So I typically will go above and use the pull-up bar instead. Speaking of weight horns, you obviously can see that there are 4 different weight horns. So on the bottom left, top right, and bottom right, there are 4 weight horns for you to stack your weights. You've also probably noticed that there is a pec deck on this machine as well. So there's a back pad along with 2 pec decks, and I'll show you how this works. All right, it's Ben from the future. And so yesterday I was a little bit busy, but let's finish out this video here. So with this back pad chest press, chest fly contraption, there is a little lever here that you can pull down. So this flips up and then forward like this. So you can screw it and lock it in place here. Now what this does is when you lock it in place, it allows you to use the fly contraption. So it allows you to go forward like this and back. So you can do some flies. Now we'll say this does obviously use the plate carriage back here. The pec fly does start a little bit in front. So my arms are already a couple, about 15 to maybe 20 degrees in front of my body. If possible, I would love it if it was a little bit back more. Obviously, the back pad is back here, so the only way to adjust would be to move the back pad forward, but there's no way to move the back pad forward. So just keep that in mind when you're doing your chest flies. For the chest press, you'll simply flip this part up and out of the way, and now you can press it up just like this. Main issue with the chest press is that it's very similar where you start kind of halfway up, just like the pec fly version. And so that is one limitation. So personally for me, I don't really use the chest press or fly function of this machine. Like I mentioned earlier, it's not quite the right range of motion that I'm personally going for in my training. I'd rather go for a cable fly or potentially even a dumbbell bench. One of the features I use quite a bit with this rack is actually the landmine attachment. I do really appreciate that because it makes things pretty convenient and pretty easy. So instead of having a landmine attachment in the corner of your room, it's just right on the rack. You can do a ton of exercises like rows, shoulder presses, lunges, tons of different options with the landmine. The last aspect we're going to review is the pull-up bar. So with this pull-up bar, it has a few different grip handles. You can see the intended grip is this wide grip, but you do have options to do a little bit more narrow. You can do underhand, you can do narrow, neutral, or you can do traditional neutral as well. And so you do have a good amount of clearance here. Obviously able to bend your legs and have full extension here, pulling it all the way up, and doing a ton of different variations that way. And so overall, very, very sturdy. I'm about 200 pounds. I've had no issues with pull-ups on this bar or on this rack. And so definitely useful here. And it just tightens up here in the back as well. So if you have issues with pulling on it, you should be good. And obviously the more weight you have on the rack, it's gonna be a lot more stable. So that is basically it. There are a few little hooks on the rack itself to put your attachments. I got a little tripod on there and it tries to push down a couple bands and stuff like that. On the back here, we also have a few hooks for your attachments. So anything that goes on the cables or the rack itself, you can attach on the little hooks there. I have some additional wall control in my gym and I can actually show you guys what I've got going on. For me, there's only 4 hooks on the rack itself. So what I ended up doing was I got some wall control. So I got these off Amazon. They're relatively cheap for just giant sheets of metal and they just screw into the wall here. The hooks do come separate and that is something I learned the hard way. And since I have quite a few attachments, I got a few ropes, a few pull down bars, V-bars, stuff like that. I just like to have it on the wall and off the floor. For a final review, let's go over the pros and let's go over the cons. Let's start with the pros first. So from a pro perspective, budget, right? This can be significantly cheaper than a lot of the name brand options out there, about 50 to 75% less expensive than those racks. On the cons, it's not going to be as high quality, right? So it's not going to be the same exact quality compared to a commercial grade rack or a $4 or $5 or $6,000 rack. You're obviously going to be taking some sacrifices there. However, on the pro side, if you are a beginner, if you are a kind of a casual lifter or somebody who's maybe even intermediate, this could be a good solution, a good option for you. If you are bench pressing 400 pounds and squatting 600 pounds and doing stuff like that, this might not be the rack for you. But if you're an intermediate lifter, this could be a good option. This rack is also very versatile. It has a Smith machine, it has a J-cup, so a half rack. It also has cables. It has a low row attachment. It has an attachment to pin your knees down for lat pull downs. It has a pull-up bar. It has weight horns on it. So overall, very versatile rack. You can do a lot of stuff on this rack and you can do a lot of exercises on this thing. For the cons, the cables are a little bit weird. You do need to make sure the screws are vertical and sometimes it does catch a little bit. So you need to give it a little bit of elbow grease at times, but obviously the more you use it, the more you'll break it in. And so that is one of the cons there I will be aware of, but obviously it's not that big of an issue. The other main cons are just, it's just not a commercial grade rack, but that's not what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be a home gym rack. It's supposed to be a budget rack. That is the purpose of the Evolpow rack. And so hopefully you like this video. If you guys have any questions about the rack, leave them in the comments below. Do make sure to get all those questions answered. And if you like science-based fitness reviews, equipment reviews, vlogs, and all that good stuff, or if you just want to check out what I got going on, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys in the next video.